Like the urban poet called Kanye West said a few years ago, he said that love is cursed by monogamy. Didn't see that one coming, right? Yo, what's happening, guys? Welcome to yet another episode of the TMS podcast, and thank you so much for choosing us. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and dislike, and also just go and view some of the episodes that we've shot in the past that you can check out the whole channel in your subscription, of course. So we're back with yet another amazing conversation that we'll be having for the next 30 minutes or so, and we're talking about monogamy. Like the urban poet called Kanye West said a few years ago, he said that love is cursed by monogamy. Didn't see that one coming, right? Yeah, so we're talking about how sustainable is monogamy in this day and age. We've seen a number of people, there are shows now. There's that guy, I think the show is called Tando Neste, who has about 4 wives, and we know a famous DJ that's just been cancelled right now in South Africa. We're not even gonna mention his name before we get cancelled. And he apparently has 2 wives. Did you guys know that that man has 2 wives?
The big guy?
Nah, not the big guy.
Oh.
The small guy. The small guy has 2 wives apparently. And I was like, geez. And from the people that have actually experienced him and just seen how they move around, it seems from like how they view it, that they are comfortable with the arrangement. You know what I mean? It's never a situation of I'm either rolling with this lady or I'm rolling with this one. So we're just trying to dissect how sustainable monogamy is, or whether what we expect from monogamy is the reason why we have such a high divorce rate in the country. Because we may know, like, we don't have the facts and the stats, but I think we have an idea that majority of divorces are caused by guys going out there and creeping. So if we've seen that system has failed, why don't we just allow polygamous relationships? You know what I mean? Because they just seem to be sustainable. So that's how I'm opening this table up. I know Shorty has very strong feelings about this one. So let's hear what you say.
I want to lie. First and foremost, I don't think it's as linear as saying if it's not monogamy, it's polygamy.
Yeah.
Right? Let's get that out of the way. I just think, I don't have a stance, mind you, because I'm also just becoming who I am in terms of my views.
Becoming to become. That type of stuff.
Whatever you want to call it, but I'm going to let you guys get into it after, but my stance is I don't believe in monogamy anymore, because
Unpack.
I mean, we can't just leave it like that. You have to give us.
Unpack.
No, dog. I just feel like there's a lot more to life, man. And I think a lot of relationships in the monogamy situation is actually based more on possessiveness of how another person's actions will make you feel versus what makes the other person happy. I'm not saying it's not about stepping outside of monogamy. It's not about, oh my God, let that dude or that woman go get dicked down by 10 dudes or go beat 10 chicks in one night.
Yeah.
I don't think it's about that. It's just about, can one human really fulfill everything of yours? I have more than one friend. I have more than one family member. I love them all equally. How I hang out with you
is different.
It says nothing,
Yeah.
absolutely nothing about my time with Import, about my time with Hype, about my time with my mom. So how do we take that same framework and go, when it comes to relationships and how we connect with other human beings?
Yeah.
Button it down to one person, and that one person is your everything. And on top of that, when things go wrong, and go wrong might be, it's relative to that situation, but it feels like the world is over, when it shouldn't be, because dog, guys, it can't be. And I struggle to articulate it because I'm still figuring out my thoughts and where I am. But right now, I call it fluid monogamy because I don't know what else to call it because it's not polygamy, it's not polyamory, but polyamory is closest to it, where it's just a matter of, dog, your girl might talk a lot and you just get tired of her chats and she just raps many mixtapes.
Yeah.
But you feel like, dog, when I'm with Alexa, she understands that, hey, silence is golden.
Yeah, because I don't even know where that concept of monogamy comes from, and
So,
I think it's mainly a move towards where we find ourselves today, based on acquiring wealth. I can call it capitalism.
No,
that when two people come together, one is able to focus on this one thing, and while I think that was like the fundamental principles of it. You handle this, you handle this in the household, and then I'm gonna go and grind, so I don't have to worry about all of these things. And now we're moving into spaces where it's dual income households. It's become about acquiring and sustaining wealth together as a couple.
Let's take it a step back.
Yeah.
To a large extent, I think the history or the heritage of monogamy can be traced back to a religious mindset that comes from the West. Remember when the missionaries were traveling all over the world, they came with this thing, religion, and you have one person and one not.
Yeah.
Each place where they were infiltrating or taking over, those kings probably had several wives or whatever the case is, but they pushed the idea of monogamy based on the biblical thing. And even in the Bible, you find that King Solomon had several wives and whatnot, but still,
I had concubines. King David.
But I think so for me, the idea of it comes from that Western philosophy that they were pushing across the world back when they were trying to take over the world.
Because it creates order, a societal order.
Yeah.
Right. There's no funny. It controls diseases, because now you're not just entering households now with your mandingo, and now you
say monogamy creates
control. Monogamy creates controls in that, dog, I have an STD and I'm hopping around houses. In monogamous situations, it's taboo to be hopping around houses.
But that's in an ideal world, because we've seen what happens. If you're trying to control diseases, monogamy is the last thing you should be depending on. Because it's like you're someone who's, let me just make an example of just being in Chankan, in jail, right? And then every single moment that you'll have to step out of that space, you will go ham.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you're trying to control society with this concept of monogamy, you will fail dismally, because that's why we're seeing all these divorce rates that we're seeing around the world.
All of you guys now, including Tap on Hype, give me a single man right now who historically, currently, has not crept. Give me one name.
That is very
Give me a name.
No, Tap, give me a name.
Myself, I've never cheated, I've never done any of that stuff.
What the fuck?
My entire life. No, like for me, that's the type of person I am. I've never been able to juggle, because I've never tried one, and two, I just felt like it would just be a stressful situation. I just feel like, for me, I've never cheated. It's nothing that I've ever been interested in. I've always been one at a time. That's just how I function.
But are you satisfied? Are you satisfied with that? Do you?
So
if you are in a relationship,
differently, right? So going back to Shorty's point is that I think monogamy, we need to unpack a little bit more, right? It's beyond just the sexual part. There is the emotional part. There is the actual interaction, day-to-day basis, whereby you're saying, okay, cool, this one person is going to fulfill me across this whole entire spectrum of things for life. And I think if we look at it that way, it is a little bit flawed, because in the same way that you'll be like, oh, I need to go leave my wife, my girl, and we go hang out with the boys, because you want that space, you're already creeping out of that commitment that you made to that person. So it's not necessarily a thing whereby you're signing up and saying, you know what, this person is going to fulfill me in its entirety. It's impossible for someone to fulfill you in its entirety. So what we're saying is that, does monogamy work? I don't think in the construct of what we perceive it as monogamous, it will work. But if you're saying you want to have one sexual partner, that can happen.
Yeah.
That can happen. But there's other things that a person needs. You need to have a conversation. You need someone else that can be able to listen to you.
Different perspectives.
Different perspective. In the same way that, like, we all have had relationships whereby you've conversed with someone in your relationship and you said to this person, you just don't get me at some point, right?
On certain
things.
Yeah.
But at that point, it's a peak. So there's either stress levels that have led to that point where you felt like this person doesn't get you, and someone else relates to you. Now, you outlaying that emotional outlay to that person, right? Does that not deem as you stepping out? That's my question. And if that's
because
case,
we've reduced it to sexual
Which it shouldn't be.
or whatever advances that you're making.
Whenever I've posted anything about fluid monogamy, I'm calling it that, I'm just terming it that, right? Everybody makes it sexual. I'm like, guys, this is not about sex. It's not about sex only. Because a guy can get bums 10 times a day at home.
Yeah.
And tomorrow, guess what? Front page.
on another one.
Another one.
It's not about that at all. Because monogamy is possessive. Monogamy says you should not entertain any connection with other humans.
But before
whether it grows you or not as a person, because different people have different perspectives. and you can grow based off of in fact, we all grow because of different perspectives, right? You travel, he goes to Brazil, he comes back, shares some shit with me. Another girl travels, I hang out with her, share some shit. Now I can't come back home and be like, yo, dog, I was out last night with Tato, and there's this girl I met, dog, and she just shared some wild
Some
shit
amazing
about,
stuff,
yeah. About like her time in Russia, yo. I can't come say that because why? Why the fuck are you connected with another girl?
And that's the thing, like that's my question, is like you will sit there and you'll have great conversations. I mean, one of us actually, sorry, one of us was actually having a conversation to say like, you know what, recently that they were washing their car and they had a very dope interaction with too soon. They're having a dope interaction with someone within their neighborhood. Now, at that point, if you could not go back to your person and be comfortable to convey that, for me, you are emotionally creeping. And that for me is saying, okay, cool, does monogamy work? Because I'm saying that if you are dating somebody, they're going to fulfill you end to end, and I don't think that's the case. And if you are willing to engage each other and be able to say, okay, cool, I cannot fulfill you. I cannot fulfill you on all of these other areas, emotionally, conversational wise, or whatever it may be. Jokes, maybe your goal's too serious.
Can I throw a spanner in these words?
Yeah.
Can I throw a spanner in these words?
Throw.
Historically speaking, the construct of relationships and whatnot, apart from whatever the Westerners were trying to bring to us, but even the R&B songs of the 90s and 80s and whatnot, they are declaring their undying love for this person, proclaiming that you are the one.
You
are it.
You are Jet Li.
You are Jet Li. You cover all the bases that I need to cover. That for me is where sort of monogamy has a chance, because if you feel strong enough about that person to say, okay, yeah, you cover that. And remember, no person is perfect though, 100%. So remember that movie Yakhale where I think it's Tyler Perry or whatever, where they discussed the 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
What a woman wants, something, Cool J.
No, it's about the compromise piece. So like you meet someone and she's
you guys are watching hella a lot of Tyler Perry movies.
She's actually a 20,
but yes,
you sacrifice the 80.
Correct. So what I'm saying is, when you say you are the one, you can see, okay, there's a 10% lacking on this front and a 5 there and a 2 there. It equates to the 20% that you won't get. But because you've made the decision to say, okay, I'm fucking with you, is that not
aren't the rules changing though? But after you've got into that person, like after that person, that R&B person, let's say you're pursuing your lady, are the rules and your dissatisfaction of monogamy changing based on the fact that you've already gotten that person?
That's wrong.
But Lips, how many times
it's not wrong.
These R&B guys, right? It's a little bit of a segue, but these R&B guys are constantly singing about the same thing. It means they're not even leaving that base. They have the same. They get the person, they find another person. It's the same jam. They fall in love with the same another human being. It's a
on
same.
Windows
And what we are saying is that how do we create sustainable relationships whereby you can leave stage one, which is pursue, right? And go into a place where it's calm and everyone understands that even if it's a friendship, even if it's someone that you call from an advisory perspective, I'm not creeping out of the bounds of the relationship if you feel comfortable to share it, and if the person is a woman that you can talk to. And the issue is that if I talk about hanging out with Tsepo, for example, and I say Tsepo shared 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if I said it was Belinda, it's a problem. It's a big problem. It will always be a big problem. So it's why are we now putting ourselves in a situation whereby we haven't really defined those rules of engagement up front?
Are you guys open for polygamous relationships or
polyamory
but again, what else do you call it?
Fluid monogamy.
Fluid monogamy.
So if my wife comes back, right, from a night out with the girls, and she says to me, yo dog, I was out, last night was fun, I was at this joint in Rosebank, and I met this dude, man, Taban. And fuck, dog, it was so dope. The conversation we had was nice. As life as we know it right now, I wouldn't be happy, but I would be happy because I'm ready. I'm not ready to
shifting mentally,
But where I'm at now is like, dog, if they have a connection, that's what it is, guys. That's what it is. They connected that night, that's what it is. he enlightened her on some other shit because they had an explosive conversation. I can't provide explosiveness on every fucking topic in life.
No, you cannot.
I cannot. And why must I limit her to the kitchen, to everything? I haven't experienced everything.
Yeah.
And life is about experiencing a whole lot of things. That's how human beings grow, dog. Now you limit people to only experience shit with your husband, with your wife. And monogamy, even if we talk about it from a sexual perspective, guys, women must also experience themselves.
Hey, now I'm not too sure about that one. Though, right?
Yeah, but that's the
I really am not sure about that. Because I'm socialized to think that way.
The value of a woman is based off of sexuality. Give you an example. If a nigga rocks up to a girl and she goes, cool, let's put down on the table how many guys you slept with, how many women you slept with, vice versa. And you go, I've slept with 30 women.
Yeah,
she
you're
goes,
a G.
Yeah, she's like, oh shit, he's wanted, he's desired. Yeah. And she goes, I've slept with 30 niggas. What's your thought?
She's an H.
But that's the problem. That's why.
Why?
But why?
I don't know, because I'm socialized to think that way about women.
I can tell you why. That's the problem with society now and how polyamory is perceived, because it's always going to be skewed to the one side. Whereas,
100%.
Whereas if the women are starting to do it, then it's going to be like,
But liberate them sexually, guys.
Yeah, dog. Because I've been speaking to a lot of people about this thing, and they're always playing around and toying around the subject of like open relationships and open marriages where you can step out. Hey, the one thing that I fear the most about those situations is that dry season. You know that season where nothing is going well for you, but your woman is stepping out every single night and nothing is happening. No girl is trying to come over. No girl is inviting you to their household. And she's just going. Like, I have a problem with...
But if we're going to welcome and entertain the idea of polyamory, that should be your least concern.
Yeah.
If she's thriving, so be it.
Polyamory...
Because you want her to be happy.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
That's the thing. Then it's flawed.
The happiest relationships, right, are when both people are happy. I'm not saying happiness must reside only in sex. It's not about sex only. Sex is a part of it, don't get me wrong. It's a need. It's one of Maslow's hierarchy of needs shit. It's in the same category as food.
Yeah, it is.
But it's not about sex only. However, part of polyamory encourages honesty, open communication. It's not to say she must come back and be like, yo, that nigga beat my cheek so good, give me detail. No. But it's about when we come together.
Hey, but you'll be thinking that in the bed, boy.
So,
at night, you're trying to nap, you're tossing and turning, she just came in at 1.
So there's actually a book called The Truth by Neil Strauss, and he actually explores...
Neil Lynn,
He loves Neil Strauss. I repost.
So the thing is, like, he actually explores all various forms of relationships, right? And he goes in from monogamy, polyamory, polygamous relationships, all of those forms, right? And one underlying message whereby he gets to the actual truth of it is that all relationships, history is that you need to have a level of trust within that relationship, right? So if you're signing up to a polyamorous situation, right, you need to have and play open cards in various forms. So if a person is about the sexual side and they want to have multiple partners, that person needs to disclose who, what, and whatever is happening on a regular basis. It should never be a secret. And as well as
what is happening.
What is happening. And on the receiving end,
no, not what like we smash, not like that kind of what.
Yeah, but
what kind of what?
On the receiving
end. I was
end,
out last night. I connected with the girl.
And on the
she's nice. You want to meet her?
Yeah. And on the receiving end is that you also need to be warm enough to have that conversation with that person to say like XYZ has occurred, and you're like, oh really, what happened? And not be in your feels because you guys agreed on the first step to say that this is what we're signing up for. So what I'm saying is that whatever relationship it is, the biggest issue that we have is that you sign up to monogamy not knowing 100% what it actually entails. And you're like, I don't know if this will actually work for me because emotionally I'm enjoying an intellectual chat with whatever person it is at the office, and it may be a Bianca or whoever it is, but I can't tell my wife at home about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I'm chuckling from my guts.
I'm chuckling from my guts, and I have because the person who's receiving the chat is not going to be warm about that chat.
Let me add more meat to Bonds' thing, right? So relationships. The problem with us nowadays is relationships are about, we make them about other people, i.e. a relationship at the end of the day, right, is your guys' shared experience together. It's not about sex, it's about what you guys have been through together, your story, her story, all that stuff coming together, right? sex, if we're going to drill it down to that as well in another world, is just an act.
Yeah.
Sex with another person, as much as we don't want it to happen,
Should be
is
an
just
act.
that. It doesn't take away from the meat of the relationship. What keeps us together isn't sex. Because if your girl doesn't give you bums for like a month, it doesn't take away from the meat of the relationship. Because you guys you've been through shit together, right? And your experiences continue to grow, etc. So if you're going to have another person, for example, what you share with that person might be different. In fact, will be different to what you share with your main. And your main is just the team member. You're saying, you in our team, you're my captain. This life thing I'm doing with you, Eric Cantona.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna have.
Everybody else is just an Eric Vidal.
Yes.
And
Why you
Sebastian
pointing
Veron.
at me though?
No, I don't and a Sebastian Veron. We were role players.
Can I say something? When it comes to us and our perspective as guys, right, I think we can all agree on this. If you disagree, you can say so. But generally when guys step out of a monogamous situation, right, it's never an emotional thing.
Never.
It's never
Well,
a calm
I say never,
conversation.
I'm just saying
yeah,
generally,
but what I'm trying to say is that the sexual act does not impact the captaincy.
Zero.
Zero.
Doesn't take away the armband.
It
Yeah,
really
but
does
now
not.
it sounds like we're just trying to justify having
Yeah.
extra.
No.
No,
I'm
no,
giving you
that's a
I'm giving you some
perspective.
insight.
Yeah.
I'm giving you some insight.
So the gist of it is it doesn't take away from the relationship and what makes a relationship, because sex doesn't make the relationship.
Yeah, there's a
Can
lot
I-
of things that contribute towards a successful
Can I
relationship.
pose a question? And I'm going to pose it on focus. You don't have to be spiritual or religious or whatever, but there's that thing of soul ties, right? And that occurs when you engage with this person who has engaged with this person who has engaged with this person. and this person.
Intersections.
Intersection type thing.
Yeah.
Now, does that not play a part in this? Because now you are engaging on, so there are strings that are connecting you to these different
That's
people.
what that's
Forget sexually, whatever.
Okay,
Just
okay.
there's many focus areas.
Yes.
Yes.
Does that not minimize the focus that you
I don't
can
think-
apportion
I don't think so.
to your main
I don't
person?
think so.
Yeah, because
I don't
that's the
think so.
problem that I have with all of this as well. Like, though it sounds great on paper, but
a
the
concept.
admin of
Yeah,
it,
there's an
the admin of it
perspective.
is something that makes me gravitate towards just being with one person that I know that this is the person that I'm going to be doing this life thing with. I know that there are many other people outside that may be able to contribute differently into my life and my happiness, but someone said on Twitter this past week that being an adult means that you are able to control your desires. You may desire a lot, but being able to control those desires and just be content with what you have is what makes you a grown person.
Yeah, but that's the fucking problem that we have. This whole thing
Because
of compromise and contentness and all this
But
shit.
wait, let's stay there a little bit. What do you mean? I need
That when you're grown folk, when you're grown folk, you're not a kid.
But explain it-
right?
explain
A kid
it.
wants a sweet, a kid wants this, a kid wants that. If you walk into a shop with a kid,
Yeah.
but when you're grown folk, you know that I can walk into a grocery store right now. I'm here to go and buy this one thing. Though I desire all of these other things in every single one of these aisles, but my priorities are with this one person. Right, when we bring it back to the relationship. So someone said that on Twitter. I was like, okay, this is what it is. There may be someone that will be able to fulfill you differently in like different aspects of your life, and you can see them. And you can see that aesthetically this lady is everything that I need. Hey, but that girl at work is great with my conversations.
Yes.
But you being a grown man know how to
Control
yourself and say, you know what, I've already made this decision and this is the person that I'm gonna have to stay
And
with.
do you know how that plays out?
Yeah.
So you've controlled yourself in the store, right? And you come back home
100%, I
and
can
you
see
give your wife the chat of like, yo dog, do you see what's happening in the Suez Canal? Right?
Yeah.
And your wife is not at all. What the fuck is the Suez? The Suez, right?
Yeah.
For example, right? She doesn't know. And there's nothing wrong with that.
There's
Because
nothing wrong with
we can't own
We can't own
everything.
it.
Likewise to her as well. If she's that kind and I'm a guy who doesn't know anything about that shit, I'm not going to stimulate her in that conversation.
Yeah.
Whereas there's a girl, Kospaning, for example, who you guys will have explosive combos. But you're going to come back and say, yo dog, Kospaning, Nale Matabo, we spoke about the Suez Canal. Are you going to come back and say that?
No, you
not.
can't.
Why not?
Let's hear from Tempo briefly.
Okay, I have a question for you guys.
You're going to throw another spanner.
Yeah, just another one for
Two
control.
balls.
Okay. So now let's move into another section. Now that you're saying you're thinking about it and so on and so forth, how do you now get into a position where you want to have multiple
Multiple what? Be specific.
multiple
because-
partners? Whether it's sexual, whether it's emotional, whether it's whatever it is.
You have to ventilate that.
You have
Okay, then let's say you are married, man.
Yeah.
How do you now put yourself in a position to open that door and now start?
Because day one, when you signed the contract, none of that was
Signed a monogamous
However, no, but that's what a lot of
But
people
before
say.
you answer, because I think there's other guys with different views,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Please give us your views because you have a chat there.
on what exactly?
That
Tupper's
chat,
question.
Tupper's
Yeah.
question.
So,
And
the manner-
ventilation.
Yeah, my issue and the challenge with this is that he posed it as a marriage. When you sign up day one, this entire concept was not there, right? Can we agree on that?
You signed to deliver these things at this quantity for years.
With that being said, there's a lot of things that happen post-marriage,
Yes.
post-contractual work
135%.
that you have to adapt to. This is something that you would then have to adapt to as a couple and say, okay, what do you need to be happy? Let me give it to you. And vice versa.
Yes.
I think that's the starting point.
But here's the thing, man, and I think I'll use things that are a little bit closer to my life, right? Is that I was dating someone, and when the situation came about, like projections of where do you want to go from a direction
Hey,
perspective.
there's that. You know that pizza place with the multiple choice.
Yeah,
And my homeboy here has the multiple choice sheet somewhere stashed.
so like generally speaking, when I engage the person around where do we want to see this, where do we see this relationship going, and around certain gaps that the relationship has. So certain things like communication, certain things around input via direction in terms of career, certain input that I felt like that person could not provide me, right? Now, what happens is that in that situation is that you tend, and I'm speaking from my experience, is that when you have conversations with people, right, whether it's your guys, friends, or the lady friends that you have in your life, you will have those conversations, and once you build that rapport, you actually trust them on those aspects. So the aspect being that I have a gap in this particular part of my life, which is I need someone who can give me proper chats around what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong, from a relationship, financial perspective, that when I'm at home, I'm just saying, oh, you're doing great, you know? And sometimes as a guy, you don't always need to hear that you're doing great all the time. You want to have someone that engages you and saying, what are you doing that is so great? How can we make it better? Those types of things. So if I'm now...
Does that need to be from a partner level?
Yeah, does it have to be from your partner?
this is what we are discussing, right? So I'm asking the question is to say that...
Because I think that engagement can come from a
Anyway.
thorough level.
100%. So now if I say, okay, cool, I'm now engaging Bianca, right? And I bring that home and I say, Bianca said this, and this.
Cushion on the couch, bro.
What kind of problem is this Bianca situation? Bianca's a problem. That you can't walk into your household and say that another lady.
Whose house?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if I come home, right, let's say I've had a great coffee conversation with Bianca, right? And now it's a constant chat that Bianca said this.
Bianca,
Your wife will tell you that this is my house, not Bianca's house.
But now here's the issue, right? Is that okay, cool, as a
But
guy.
if you say it's from Paul.
But now, but
yeah, Bianca must
That's
become
true.
Bernard.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. If I then say, okay, cool, this Bianca chat is causing disruption in the household, I'm gonna keep quiet, right?
Yes.
What am I doing emotionally?
You're cheating.
You're cheating.
You're cheating. And
Emotionally, you're cheating.
And the problem is not resolved. It's not resolved.
It's not resolved. So that's the thing. I just feel like monogamy is too linear. I don't think it's
Way
a
too
sexual,
linear.
it's you can't say it's just a sexual thing. There's
Guys,
too many
computers used to be the size of the house.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now a terabyte is the size of flipping a grain of rice.
Yeah.
Things have evolved. Where are we
Yeah.
as humans?
We should
Yeah,
evolve
that's
too.
how we wrap it up. You may just give us your opinion in the comment section below and just let us know, do you think that monogamy is sustainable in 2021, or we just need to rethink it a little? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the TMS podcast. I'm forgetting the name of the podcast.
Fluid monogamy.
Yeah, man, we haven't done it in such a long time, but it's good to be back, man. Thank you so much. Make sure you subscribe.
Brooklyn, stand up!
Decent twin. Queen's Bridge must be the fucking house.